Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful Reedville neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks so much for being part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you find your podcast. We don't want you to miss an episode. We have an awesome show for you today. Our guest is the author of Black Princess. Her name is Helina Bailey. Hey, for all the authors that are listening out there, I wanted to share with you this great email that we received here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast from Dr. Linda Mubarak. She is a past guest and the author of Maxine's new job. Here's the email. Dear Fatima and Jed, good news! Maxine's new job has been nominated to receive the prestigious Henri Award at the 2018 Christian Literacy Awards for outstanding literacy work in the children's book division. I sincerely believe your certifying Maxine as a great read helped bring increased social media attention to the book. Thank you for the exposure and the great marketing. We are so happy for Dr. Linda Mubarak that her book, Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read, Maxine's New Job, received this prestigious recognition. We would love to help your book receive that same kind of recognition. If you are interested in having your book considered for our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program, please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can click on the contact button, send us a note, and we'll send all the information back to you, or you can go right to our Certified Great Read page on our website. It's fun, it's easy, and it is really an effective way to let the world know that your book stands out above all the rest. The Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. One more quick note before Helena comes in. We are really excited. Our friend Jeffrey McSkimming, the author of the Phyllis Wong Mystery Series, let me know that all of the Phyllis Wong mysteries are now available in paperback edition. You don't want to miss it. This is really one of my favorite middle grade series, the Phyllis Wong Mysteries, now available as paperbacks. Check it all out. Get some more information at phylliswong.com. Joining us on the line right now from Southern California. I actually should set up a branch office of the Reading with Your Kids podcast in Southern California. We have so many guests from the Los Angeles and Southern California area. Well, we're talking today to the author of Black Princess. Please welcome to the show, Helina Bailey. Helena, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, and I'm really excited to be on the show right now.
We're excited to have you. We're excited to learn more about Black Princess. Tell us all about it, please.
So, Black Princess is my first book in my line of representational picture books for ethnic and minority children to help encourage self-love and build their confidence. And this is something that I'm very passionate about because it's very personal, and it is inspired by my best friend, Mimi, who I grew up with. And it also strongly resonates with me because I'm tricultural. I'm currently in Oxnard, California, visiting family where I grew up. And this is where I had a really hard time fitting in and finding my cultural identity. And I discovered that my best friend, being a beautiful Black girl, also felt that struggle. But it was a little bit different from what I was going through. And she just, one day when we were 19, she told me how hard it is to grow up being a Black girl, where you never see anything in the media that represents you or that tells you that you're beautiful the way that you are, especially if you have dark skin. And this just really blew me away because being mixed and being Hispanic, I always thought we were in the same boat. And when she told me this, it just really broke me down. It has stayed with me for a long time. So a few years ago, I wrote her this poem to tell her from my perspective that I always thought she was smart and she was strong and she was beautiful. And she started crying and she told me this is what I needed to hear as a child, and that this is what other girls need to hear. This needs to be a book. This needs to be something that we're telling young Black girls. So that is where Black Princess was born, and I ended up editing it and changing it to make it appropriate for little girls instead of for a woman. Mm-hmm. But like that is the main idea behind and the fuel behind Black Princess.
Well, that's beautiful. You know, Helina and I were joking before we started recording because my family is a bicultural family, and she is married somebody who's probably from my ethnicity and my tribe, and her husband and I both love to play with language, and we'll just leave it at that. And but I really celebrate the fact, and I'm glad that we're growing up now, and we're you know, we raised our kids in a time where it sounds like it was easier to be bicultural and to celebrate that. Do you see there's absolutely a need for books like Black Princess, but do you think that the pendulum is swinging, that we're in a better place, that it's easier for your kids to grow up and for my kids to grow up?
Oh, most definitely. Especially, I have a unique perspective on this because my mom is actually mixed. She is half Japanese, half Native American. And so that's going back into the 60s and the 70s where that kind of stuff wasn't very common at all. And being post-World War II, there was a lot of racism against Japanese anyway, and discrimination against Native Americans as well. So my mom and her family grew up with that. And then she married into a Colombian family. So then I grew up with that. And I think with every generation, it's gotten easier and better because my mom is saying now when she tells people that she's half Japanese, half Native American, that they're like, wow, like that's really amazing. It's not that same, the way that the reaction she used to get as a kid where people were kind of off-put by it or they wanted to make fun of them for it. So it's a completely different perspective that people are more interested in culture, I think. But the discrimination hasn't gone away completely, but it's definitely easier. But at the same time, there's still something that I feel we haven't really discussed with mixed people because hasn't been mainstream, and it's a growing population, but it hasn't been a large population in the past where we don't discuss this in-between feeling where you're not really accepted fully into either world, into either culture, that you're kind of in between. And so that's something like I have my 5-year-old, his best friend, her mother is from Germany and her father is from South Africa. And so she grew up speaking Afrikaans and German and English. And when she started kindergarten, she stopped speaking German and told her mom that she would like for her to speak English, that why can't she speak English like the other kids? And I don't think that the kids were making fun of her, but she automatically felt that pressure to conform and felt that speaking German and representing her German culture was bad and that she was embarrassed of it. And my son did something similar with his Japanese. So it's still there. I think it's kind of morphed away from racism, like blatant racism a little bit, but a lot of it for myself, there was some outward discrimination I was facing. A lot of it was inward, that I was feeling it and I was putting it on myself. And that is the main reason why I'm writing these from first-person perspectives with positive affirmations to build the children up, to have the confidence and the courage and the strength that I wish I had as a child to stand up for myself and to be proud of where I came from. I think that's something that we're not really discussing. And it's something that when I talk to other mixed people, that we all kind of felt it, but no one has talked about it. And I'm not seeing it out there in the media. I'm not seeing it in blogs. I'm definitely not seeing it in children's literature. So even though we've gotten further, we're making progress, that it's still there. I think this is a discussion that we should be having, especially as more and more people are having interracial and intercultural relationships, and we're having more kids like myself who are mixed, who come from very diverse backgrounds.
You know, it's interesting. As you were speaking, I have this vague memory because it was such a silly thing. But there was a time in my life when it was a very short period of time because it was so silly. But people would call us me and my brothers mixed because we came from a family that was Irish and English, and some of the family were Protestant and some were Catholic, and I'm like, we're different. Come, really, please. But that's that was absolutely the perception. I don't want to tell you how many years ago, but almost 100 years ago when I was growing up. So.
It was. People didn't mix. That's why the more people of your generation that I see that are mixed, I'm like, wow, man, your parents they were really progressive, like trendsetters. They were breaking the mold that to break out like that when people did not do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember my best friend, my best man was African American, and he married a Scottish woman, and it was, and that was probably 35, 38 years ago, and it was a lot more. It was a bigger deal then than certainly it is now, and I'm really happy that we're moving. It seems like in the right direction. But you brought up something that I think was very important, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, is that like a lot of the bad feelings that you were experiencing weren't necessarily coming from without. It was things that you were feeling inside. It was some self-doubt, and you didn't want to feel different. You knew you were different, but you didn't want to feel different.
Yes, and this is some actually what fueled. I started writing these stories when I became a mom about 5 years ago, because I wasn't happy with the bilingual books that I was finding that I wanted to read to my kid that represented us as a family. And I threw this stuff out there on Facebook at the time, not realizing how many mixed friends I actually had. That, hey, did anybody ever feel in between and have this insecurity where you just didn't fit in with either culture? And my inbox got flooded from friends that were mixed saying, yeah, I was, especially like friends that are like half Chinese or whatever, saying I wasn't Chinese enough. But at the time, like, I accepted into the other culture because I'm mixed. Especially this is with people that are half white, saying that they can't, even if they feel like that they're always going to be told from one culture that, no, you're white. And from the other culture that you're mixed with black or you're mixed with Chinese. So they're not going to identify with you as being white. And for me personally, it was very confusing because I didn't have a lot of influence from my Colombian side, but my last name was Velázquez, and I look predominantly Hispanic, and I'm in a predominantly Latino community, but I was raised in my Japanese grandfather's home. So my cultural, my traditions, my heritage, the stuff that I experienced, that I identified with, was Asian. And so I felt more connected to my Asian roots to being Latino, which was really hard for me because when I would go to school and I wanted to hang out, like I had a lot of Asian friends that I identified with a lot of the stuff that they were talking about, their home lives. But from the outside, I still had a little bit that they would laugh and say certain things, or other people would laugh at me and they would always say, you're not Asian, or there's no way you're Japanese, that you're Mexican. And so it became a little thing that I did face some of that, but I really internalized that. And it got to a point where I think I was 12 years old when I told my mom that I just wish I was white. I just wish I was white and that my life would be so much better if I didn't have to go through all of this. And my mom, being mixed, she got very upset about it. She told me she was going to slap my face, that we need to be proud of where we came from. It was so hard for me to feel that pride because I wanted to fit in so badly. And I felt that being mixed like that just pulled me in too many directions and never gave me a concrete footing anywhere. So I think, but that is, and the more people that I talk to now that I'm doing this are all telling me yes, that it's this big push to try to make people know that you are Hispanic enough, that you are whatever you're trying to fit into, you're trying to identify with, and that a lot of times it comes with being too much, being over the top to try to secure that. and it comes from the insecurity. And I don't know. For me, I'm like, I don't know if there was anything that anybody could have told me when I was growing up to make me not feel like that. But I think that if it's something that we discuss more often, or that we let people know that it's okay and how beautiful it is to have your feet in these different worlds where you're tasting the flavors of these different cultures as one of them, which is very unique to mixed heritage people, to see that as being beautiful instead of wanting to shy away from it and feeling that you have to choose one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely am absolutely behind you with that idea of not making our kids choose one side or the other, to just absolutely embrace both cultures, all cultures. One of the things that we, in our family, we had Irish and English and Puerto Rican, and we just and we celebrated everything, and that was sort of our joke, was like, oh, this is really cool because we get to celebrate everything, and we host international kids in our home, and so we just we've a Japanese kid this year. We're celebrating Japanese holidays this year. And then when the Chinese came the next year, it's like, all right, we're going to add the Chinese, we're going to keep the Japanese, we're going to do the Puerto Rican, we're going to do, and we know some Mexicans. We'll do some Mexican holidays too. And it was probably easier for my kid because, their dad was a clown. So, I mean, that was the thing that made them stay. They could have been green and, they could have been plaid kids, but still their dad was a clown, and that made them stick out more than anything. But one of the things too, as you were speaking, is some of the insecurities that you were talking about, I think, are universal, and they're that idea of not fitting in. And I think there are a lot of kids that even if they're whatever culture they're in, if they're part of the mainstream culture and they look like everybody in the mainstream culture, there's still that sense that I'm different. I know a lot of middle school kids, and I've joked about this in my live performances. They have to act so. They have to pretend that they know everything so much because they think everybody else knows everything. And so I have to pretend like I know everything. Otherwise, people will find out about me. In the meantime, no one knows anything. So just, but I think, a lot about what you're feeling and what you felt as a child growing up is same kind of insecurities that a lot of kids feel, just because they're growing up and their bodies are changing. And I think what you're doing in creating a Black Princess is, it's a great way for just to affirm kids that, yeah, you are changing, you are different. And even if you're twins, if you're identical twins, you're a still different person than that identical twin that came out of into the world at the same time as you did.
Yes. And I think that all kids at some point overcompensate to try to fit in. And then, we evolve and we grow and we learn that we don't know anything, that we didn't know anything, that a lot of the times our parents were actually right. I know that it's really hard once you hit that revelation, or when you realize that your parents are actually human. And I realized for myself, and that this journey, it was when I became an adult that I really embraced who I was. And I feel this is common. Like, I think college is when you start joining all these clubs, and then you join the Chinese American club, whatever, and you learn to embrace it. But that's what I'm hoping that my books, like Black Princess in particular, is making it so that you're not having to deal with these other internal struggles, that you can just focus on the normal trying to fit in junior high, trying to find your place as a teenager. I think navigating that awkward prepubescent and high school teenage years is hard enough. You're not faced with hating yourself because of where you come from, or because of your skin color, or because of the language that your parents speak, because all of these things that you have no way of controlling, that you had nothing to do with. And that's the goal of this, especially having young children, I really realized the impact that's the first time, like my son's in preschool, where you notice the differences between your family and other families, and you start bringing some of that home. And I really want to get into that age group when they're first starting to categorize, and you'd see it in the preschool where they branch off into little groups already. They're starting to pick their little clubs. So that's what this is. That's what it's written really simply. It's for the age group like that. But just to show them through representation that, look, these are books that have children who look like you, who look like children in your family, that there's nothing wrong with it, that I don't want to have the takeaway be that you're not different, because I think that we should be embracing that difference. I think that diversity is beautiful. So that's the point of it, that you're beautiful, that being different is awesome. Being different makes you you. It's not something bad, that your hair is beautiful, that your skin color is beautiful, that you have a voice, that nothing on the outside is taking away from your potential, and that nothing on the outside that you have no control over takes away from your personal worth and from your personal value, and that the person you're seeing in the mirror needs to be loved and needs to be accepted. That's the big one for me. Is I just looked in the mirror, and I remember being a kid and just like, I hate my face. And especially my father ended up dying when I was a kid. So now, especially now as I get older, that I'm like, it's a gift, because I see a lot of my dad in myself. So I'm like, I'm glad now that I have that, because I'm like, he's not with me, but I'm like, I have his smile and I have his eyes. And as a kid, that really bothered me, because I'm like, oh my God, it makes me look so ethnic, and I don't want to be ethnic. I just want to be like everybody else. So I'm really passionate about this.
Well, you can hear the passion in your voice, and I can see the passion in your eyes, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think that while Black Princess is helping kids accept themselves and accept their differences and embrace their differences, what I also hope it can do, and I think it absolutely can do this, is to help other kids understand, hey, it doesn't matter what this friend of yours looks like. That's a human being, and that's a person who you can be friends with, whether they're from a different race, a different religion, a different culture, or a different ability level. If they think differently, if they move differently, and this is something that's been a passion of mine. I met my wife because I was involved in running a program that integrated kids with severe developmental disabilities into typical educational and recreational situations. So, and I think kids get it. They get it a lot better than adults get it.
Well, yes, that is so true. I was speaking to this woman recently, and she was telling me that if you start them young and you don't teach them to have that closed heart or to be discriminatory, that instead of them seeing tolerance when they are facing people that are different than themselves, that they see the intolerance in other people. And I think that's a big thing here, that's what we should be bringing our children up, not to be seeing how tolerant someone is, not to be giving yourself a pat on the back for tolerating diversity in any form, whether it's with physical abilities or with culture or whatever, but to be seeing the intolerance in other people and recognizing that that's not right. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's what the conversation needs to be changing to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, you said that this is the first in a series. What other characters can we look forward to meeting from you?
Oh, it's gonna be huge. But I'm self-publishing, so it's slow going. But like I said, I'm triculture, and I married into an Italian, and my husband's Italian and Irish. My sister married into a Tongan family, and my grandmother is one of 18. So we have everything in our family. So my next one is ready to release. In a couple of weeks, I'm just waiting on the final edits. It is called "Are You Coming to My Fiesta?" And it's a bilingual story based off of my mom's cousins, the Riveras that are here in Oxnard. And that's encouraging just love of the Hispanic and Chicano culture. And after that, I wrote for my niece a Polynesian story called Island Girl. And then for my mother, I wrote, I Love My Rice. So that one isn't just for Asians. It's actually to break the stereotype that Asians are the only ones who eat sticky rice or rice. And it's just a food book. It doesn't even have characters. It's just showing rice dishes from around the world because rice is eaten on every continent. It is such a popular food. I want to shatter the stereotypes, and I also want to bring back the connection to them so that kids aren't feeling embarrassed of them and feeling pride in it. That especially like a big one is not to be embarrassed of your traditional little lunchbox that you're taking to school, but to be proud that your mom took the time or your dad or someone took the time to make you a homemade lunch and not to throw it in the trash like a lot of kids do because you're embarrassed.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't wait for the I Love My Rice book because I grew up, I never had rice. I had mashed potatoes at every single meal. It was a holiday if we had a baked potato. And then when I discovered rice, I just loved it. And of course, I've learned how to cook. I cook arroz con gandules. I cook fried rice. I cook jambalaya. I love it. I got rice coming out of my ears right now. So I am absolutely looking forward to that rice book. Now, of course, I am going to be checking in and keeping updated on when the different books are available by being on your website. How can other folks be in the know and stay connected with you online?
My website also has my store, and that has my story, and I put little blogs on there to show you where I'm going, and that is www.black/princess.com. But I just recently started Instagram. I'm not that good at it, but it does have a lot of teasers on my upcoming work. And that is at HB Writings 19. I am also on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it because I'm not really good at tweeting at people. I've been tweeting at Ellen DeGeneres, but she's not getting back to me. So
you know, there's a lot of people who make a lot of tweets on Twitter, and they're still not very good at it. Well, don't make any names. Now, we had a little bit of a breakup. The magic of Skype isn't always so magical. And I thought I heard you say that your website address was black/princess.com. It's actually black-princess.com, correct?
Yes, black-princess.com.
Awesome. Well, check that out. Check out, you can learn about Black Princess and about all the great books that Helina will be bringing out to us. Our guest today has been Helina Bailey. We've been talking about so many great things, and I can't wait for the next book to come out because I would love to have you back on the show.
Oh, I would love to be back. I'm sorry that I got sidetracked. I talk too much. I can't help it.
And if you didn't talk too much, we wouldn't have a podcast. So that's wonderful. Our guest today has been Helina Bailey. Thank you so much for being on the show, Helina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast, as our guests will be coming to you from where else? Southern California. That's right. We need that branch office open as soon as possible. Our guest is the author of the great new picture book, No One Mocks a Panda. He's also the author of the middle grade book, The Gondoliers. His name is Paulo Mazzucato, and he'll be here. We hope you'll be joining us too. Hey, if you're the author of a great children's book, whether it's a picture book, a middle grade book, chapter book, a YA title, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to talk to thousands and thousands of people all around the world about your great book. All you need to do is to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button, let us know about your great book. We'll let you know the next easy steps. Hey, we want to thank Helina Bailey for joining us today. Check out her book, Black Princess. We also want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan, for all that she does. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. And, of course, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.